I found my way home across the Grand Mirage. Ever since
This is Alison Arngrim Show. Yes, some of you may know me as the evil Nellie Olson. Aha! But tonight, I am Alison Arngrim, thank heavens. And it's the Alison Arngrim Show. And here in the Alison Arngrim Show, we talk about things that make us feel good. The movies and the TV shows that made us feel good and the people who made them. And people who are doing things now to make the world a better and more interesting place. Well, tonight, we have an exception. Everybody hates this guy. He's making like maybe now. No, seriously, I go. She says, you can't be right saying everyone hates this man. What is she talking about? Let's just take a look here, shall we? Okay. Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis said, I will find out where you live and I will come burn your house down and you'll have no place to live. Kelsey Grammer said, I invite this young man to fry in hell. But that's probably a done deal already. Drew Barrymore, as we know, a very spiritual and sweet and gentle creature, said, I'm going to fucking kill you. Yes, that is a quote. Even Ellen DeGeneres said, I don't like you so much, which is pretty tame for her because she could have. Lindsay Wagner. Now, Lindsay Wagner is one of the spiritually evolved, kindest, sweetest people I know. And she said, fuck you. So this is how mad this cat has made people. Terry Hatcher's a lovely woman. You will one day look up at your reflection in your coffin and not like what you see.
Oh.
People truly hate this man. I myself, I hated him too. That's how great he is. But I think you'll love him today. Yes, he has a book out because what do you do after that? But Jesus, you got to write a book. He indeed has written a book, When You Step Upon a Star, Cringeworthy Confessions of a Tabloid Bad Boy. And it is cringeworthy. Everything is cringeworthy. But he has come to plead his case and confess to everything here on the Alison Arngrim Show. Ladies and gentlemen, and wronged celebrities, William Keck.
Well, that is a way to make someone feel welcome. I felt like you were about to say, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump. I mean,
it was like, you hate him, we all hate him. People are like, my God, who is she having on?
Comparatively so, I'm not so bad. There are worse people out there. I think you'll agree. But yeah, no denying, I made my enemies over the years for sure. Oh.
I am unmuted. I don't know what's just happened. I got unmuted. Are you all still there? Tony, are you still there? Can you hear me?
Barely.
Hello. Should be from you.
No, it's really muffled.
Oh, wait, is everybody back? Everybody's like back.
Now I can hear you.
That's so weird. Yes, it just suddenly muted me. I don't know what it was. We just, all the people who hate you were like trying to pull the plug on the Wi-Fi. That must be it.
That was.
You work directly for the National Enquirer. You actually did this. You were actually a real live National Enquirer reporter person. Is he
Alison, I hate to do this. Hold on 1 second. I think the problem may be on my end.
I'm having weird freezing. I'm checking my Wi-Fi right now as we speak. Looks good.
Yeah, you're freezing on me too. So I'm going to switch over. If I lose you, I'll sign right back on. Okay, this usually works. But
technical difficulties, people. We have to do these things sometimes. Okay, my Wi-Fi is cool. I'm just double checking mine. Cool. So it might be you. Dun, 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 dun. We're going to find out if it's him or me here. Tony, do you know if it's him?
Sign back. Oh, you're there.
You look good. It sounds good. Maybe you sound better. We will soon find out.
I think we're in good shape. Yeah. So that was fabulous. Do you want to redo that?
That thing. So we got your opening in. We have you here, and we've talked about hating you so much. Welcome, William. You were a real live Enquirer person. Is this what did it? Is this what happened to you?
Yeah, the Enquirer ruined me. I was a nice upstate New York boy who came here hoping to meet folks like you, all my favorite TV stars. And yeah, the Enquirer just got into my blood. It was like working for the mafia, Alison. I'm not kidding.
Wow. So you were a normal person when you started.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what's normal? I don't think either of us probably have ever been normal. Uh,
You had parents and you went to school. What were you studying to be?
well, I'll tell you that I had parents. I had a mom. My dad passed when I was young, very young, 5. And you guys, the Ingalls and the Olsons and the Bradys and the Ewings and the Carringtons were all my surrogate families.
Oh,
I wanted to meet all of you. Michael Landon certainly was a surrogate TV dad for me. So it was actually though when Robert Reed passed away, that really sort of
mm,
rocked my world. My dad was closeted. I for a
wow.
long time was closeted. So seeing Robert Reed dead of AIDS on the People magazine cover, it just was, I don't know, it had a very strange effect on me. I got my ass over to LA and started meeting you guys. I wanted to meet as many of you as possible. But yeah, the Inquirer forced me to meet you at weddings and funerals and in your hospital rooms and
In the
it's
backyard, peeking through the window. It just,
stealing your garbage and your trees.
oh my God. Is there a worse thing you've ever done? I mean, as we've heard from everyone from Drew Barrymore and everyone else going, fuck off, die, die, I hate you. Oh my God. Can you think, would you say what was the most like invasive, crazy, insane thing you did that you can think of?
Well, I'd say stealing garbage was pretty interesting.
Oh, we hear about that. So people really did. That's the thing. People go, oh, the Inquirer's going to go through your garbage. Did you? Is this a thing they actually do? Have you really and truly actually gone into people's garbage?
I absolutely did. And usually what
Go.
happens, you hear some rumors. Maybe you'll hear about someone's drinking a lot or doing some drugs or they're addicted to porn. And so you go into their trash just to try to find evidence. I did that once with the great Kelsey Grammer, who has
This is condemning you to hell for all eternity. That possibly may have been the
yeah.
start of that.
The quote goes on, by the way. There's more to it. There's like 2 pages on me, and he says, "Your mother must be very, very proud of you." And she was actually. The fact that Kelsey Grammer was talking about me in his book, she was overjoyed and thrilled. But yeah, I stole his garbage, and I this was midnight. I brought it back to our office on Sunset Boulevard, and I opened it up, went through it. Yeah, there were a few things, nothing really incriminating. It could have been dropped in by his gardener. But what was in there, Allison, were maggots. Maggots
Ew. Oh, yeah.
started crawling all throughout the Inquirer bureau offices, which I felt was just very appropriate. Um, I had to go downstairs at midnight, get the housekeeping's vacuum cleaner. So here I am vacuuming up maggots. Um,
And they don't die that easily. They're like alive in the vacuum bag. Maggots are, yeah. If you've ever cleaned it, anyone's ever cleaned up maggots even once in your life, these things, it's bad.
Oh, it's bad. I just, in my nightmares, I had visions of them developing into flies with Kelsey Grammer's head just flying around me and terrorizing me for the rest of my life.
So actually going through people's trash, so that it's true. It's true. It's now. Did you feel pangs of conscience while you were doing it? Clearly, you're confessing all in your fabulous book, but did you, while you were doing it, sometimes in the middle of the night while you were like lying under a car or something, go, "What the hell am I doing?"
Absolutely. I mean, it was really traumatizing. And I was friends with the other journalists, the younger ones. I was in my 20s at the time, and we would just kind of support each other. It was kind of like being on a team and having an abusive coach who would ask you to do these things that you just didn't want to do. But the other side of it was really like working for the mafia, where you would do these things. They would encourage you can do this, Keck. We believe in you. And when you did it, when you delivered, they gave you more money. There was a whole system in place. When one of your stories was on the cover, you got a bonus. When it was the main image, you got a big bonus. So it was all
Maybe
designed.
weird positive reinforcement for this negative stuff.
Absolutely. But I got to tell you, I worked in a lot of places, a lot of Hollywood production studios. It was the nicest bunch of people for the most part. They all went to church on Sunday. Sometimes they would run into celebrities at church and apologize. So I guess there was a lot of cleansing of the soul needed there.
The idea of being at church, having someone in the choir, and really sorry about last week, that would be mind blowing.
Yeah. Well, what would I find in your garbage, by the way? If I were to steal your garbage, what would be in there?
Well, I mean, the recycling bin, I'm very proud to say, is probably more filled than the garbage bin. We had a bear up here who tried to go through my garbage because there was some leftover barbecue chicken, which I think was very exciting. Unfortunately, there was also kitty litter, so the bear was massively disappointed.
Well, you see, if a celebrity had just put a bear in their bin, then that would have taken care of me right on the spot. There would be no more garbage stealing. So
Yeah,
that's
see, that's the thing. You wouldn't have got nobody's getting my garbage up here because the bear's going to get there first. They're going to get eaten by a bear up here. So, good luck with that. Yeah,
so,
you're getting too much garbage in my garbage. Yeah, because I like, come on, receipts. I mean, duh, I like shred receipts. I'm not like an
yeah,
idiot.
yeah, of course, of course, of course. Well, I wrestled the bear for the Inquirer, by the way. I
And
did.
oddly, I completely believe you. I'm sitting here going, and he's not making that up because
No,
it's
there's
just.
photos of it in the in the book. Besides sending us out to snoop for scoop on you guys, they had us do these weird kind of day in the life things. I spent a day as an 80-year-old man. They made me up with prosthetics to see if I could get into a hip club, if I could get a discount at the movie theater. But yeah, they had me wrestle an 800-pound bear named Bogey. And the way I put it in the book was the last thing I added. We went through legal with the book, and I have one chapter in there about a celebrity who beat me up. And they said I was dropping too many clues. So I had to pull a lot out. So I put in the photos of me getting beaten by this bear
Oh my God.
instead of what I could say about the celebrity beating me up on the front lawn of his home.
Now that's something. Having written a book and having gone through the normal things of, well, now you're meeting with the editor and now you're going to do this and we need rewrites. Then there was the meeting with legal. And everybody, if you write a book and you're a good publisher, they're going to say, well, we got to talk to legal. I was on the phone with legal for 3 days, and that was just my book. What in the name of all that's holy was your conversation with the legal department like with your book? That had to have been insane.
Well, I got to tell you, I made a scary but I think brave and smart decision. I shared these chapters with the people I was writing about.
Wow.
Um,
Bold.
One of the chapters I shared was with someone I think you may have heard about, Melissa Gilbert. She's a chapter in there.
Blurb for the book, like.
I love her. I know you're besties, but boy, does she have an amazing sense of humor. I crashed her wedding. I crashed her wedding back in the day. Yeah.
Yes, I invited the Inquirer to all my weddings. Okay, there's only two. There's only two people, but my first wedding thing was is they were going to come, and at the time, I mean, say I'm not that famous, but famous enough. And I told my friends, I said, no, you call them and invite them. And they went, what? I said, well, because otherwise you want them to come with the helicopters, or do you want to just have them come and take a seat? They'll buy you a present. They might chip in for something. And I was able to pick the photographer, which was marvelous. It was the lovely Roger Carnbad, who I'd known since I was
Oh yeah.
12
Yes.
and shot beautiful photos. So he was going to come. So it's like, I was inviting him anyway. Okay, right. So, and then they actually kicked in some cash and helped with the food and champagne budget. It was like lovely. And then it was a total exclusive. So they then sent security because the Inquirer didn't want anyone else taking pictures, which meant any difficulty with people coming into the wedding, security, ex-boyfriends, it's like they weren't getting in because the Inquirer was taking care of security. It was the most bonkers thing. I'm being made safe by the Inquirer. What is happening? And they did a beautiful layout, and then I got a beautiful photo album of all the photos. Now, sadly, the wedding was lovely. The marriage was not as good. Great wedding, marriage didn't last. So I go, yeah, it is. You go to get divorced, and irreconcilable differences. It was all no fault. But by golly, they did phone. They did phone, as they do.
They want to find out all about the nitty gritty. Yeah.
They wanted to know just in case there was something there. And I was like, oh, Jesus. I said, well, as fate would have it, we're already planning the wedding to my current husband, Bob, which incidentally, husband, 30 years. We've just crossed the 30-year
That's
anniversary.
amazing. Congratulations.
That one took. And so we're planning our wedding, and the divorce is just happens like it's final here, like wedding's here. And they're like, so what's going on? I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So, and remember, my father was my manager, and he was totally up on this. It's like, so how do you feel about a wedding? And it was, do you want to just drop the whole divorce thing? Like that's not even happening if you come to the wedding. And they literally said, oh, honey, weddings sell more papers than divorce.
Oh, that's absolutely true.
Is that true? Is that true?
And yes, it's all about weddings and babies. Those are
Weddings
big
and babies.
sellers.
So good news is, in fact, actually bigger in the Inquirer than the terrible bad news we read.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, did you speed up the wedding just so you could combat the divorce story?
No, we were doing it anyway. It's like, okay, when's the divorce final? Okay, let's get married. It was actually final way in advance, but they hadn't sent me the paperwork, and I literally went downtown. I go, why? And they went, oh, I'm so sorry, we didn't mail. Yes, we were supposed to mail it like months ago. Well, here's the thing. And they stamped it, and I literally blew the ink dry and said, "Now, which way to the marriage license office?" So it looked tackier than it was, and so they came, and again they said, "Well, we're not, we're not paying for the second one." They said, "But we will buy." But they absolutely chipped in. They bought a lovely gift. They paid for champagne. They sent people. Same thing. Roger Garnett showed up, and they actually made a deal. So I had a beautiful layout in Hello Magazine, Ola, and
Great.
People, and Inquirer. And that is, my husband thought it was so funny that we didn't even have a wedding album. We just have a binder with all the magazines. And
That-
Bob says, "Want to see my wedding album?" Pulls out the Inquirer and Hello Magazine. And people like what? And he's like, "No, really, that's the picture." So it can work out, but that I was fascinated at how quickly they were perfectly happy to make this weird deal of exchange. Okay, yeah, we didn't really want to know about that anyway. When's the wedding? And that they were like, no, no, good news sells actually more than bad news, weirdly, and we will happily make a deal. And I was surprised by that, but apparently that's a thing.
It is a thing. It is a thing. I remember, and the Inquirer is so amazed when any celebrity wants to work with them that you really can negotiate a good deal. I remember. Do you remember Jonathan Silverman, that actor? Jonathan
Yes,
Silverman. Yeah, he was on the show called The Single Guy right around when Friends was on the air. Really nice
good
guy.
looking guy.
Memoirs, a lot of the Neil Simon plays he did on Broadway. Well, I don't want to dig up his scandal, but there was something involving his family that he really, really didn't want out there. So we made a deal, and he instead invited us over to his home, and we did this kind of crazy story about he and his girlfriend having this problem because he was allergic to her cats. That was the story, and by God, the Inquirer lived up to their bargain. They never revealed the other scandal; it never came out. So yeah, I mean, there was a whole safe in Lantana, Florida. That's the home. That was the
Oh
home
yeah,
office of
land
the
Hannah.
Inquirer, and they had information on Bill Cosby, a whole file on him. So anytime they needed Bill Cosby for a Father's Day story, they could call him up and he would contribute because he knew,
Or else.
or else. We would get nude photos in. I remember I had nude photos sent to me of Don Johnson. We didn't do anything with them, but we saved them. Not bad.
Which I would say those would probably be good. What they'd be flattering, I think they would be.
They were very
So
flattering.
I had a friend who I think I had names of he
Yeah.
saw a certain celebrity at a club clearly about leaving with these two women, three women. It was two women, and things were definitely going on. And he was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god!" He was very naive, and so he like called up the Inquirer and said, "I have pictures, I have pictures," and they said, if you get a picture of that guy with more than two women or less than two women or a guy or anything other than two women, feel free to call us, because do you know how many freaking pictures we got of that guy with two women? Apparently it's a thing. And he was like,
Wow.
what? He had like no idea. He was so innocent. He thought he'd found the most scandalous thing. And they went, oh, you don't know him, do you? Yeah, we do know him. And he's done way more scandalous things than what you've got pictures of. So you'll have to
Amazing.
do better than that.
I never would have guessed it of Dean Butler. He always seemed like a very straight laced.
Oh my God, can you imagine? You would have to go through his trash for years before you'd find it. I mean, Dean Butler, good
Nothing.
luck on that one, right? Oh my God.
Clean as ivory soap. Absolutely. An amazing guy as well. I feel like I should just quickly explain to people what
Yes,
this is. And I'm not even sure what this is. Do you know what? I mean, it's you, but do you know
yes,
why you have this?
I do. It's one of my fabulous. It's kind of the what's that one? The Stanley Kubrick stare, basically. But it is indeed one of my best Nellie Olson in the pink love shots.
Well, there's two of them here. Let me show you the other one.
It's terrifying.
So, well, there's your mama.
Yes, always
And
good. Got to get her more in shot. She's over there.
She's
Gotta
falling
lower
on me.
her. There she is.
Harriet
There's
Olsen's
that
pointing
face.
me. So when I was a producer at Home and Family on the Hallmark Channel,
That's right.
I produced a 2 hour reunion movie or a 2 hour reunion special. You were making one of your many appearances in France.
I was in France, so you and I snuck out to see me right before, because they were all going to get together in studio with you, and I'm like, I ain't going to be there. And you said, fine, we'll go to see me. funny. And again, I was like, did you really work this out? We got there, the gates weren't open. I don't know if we were breaking in. You hadn't talked to the guy. I was going, and we hate William Keck again. Um, but we got in. I don't know how we climbed a fence, what the hell. But we finally got in, and we did take all these hysterical shots and me running down the hill and stuff in See Me. And if I recall, the whole gang was totally floored and surprised when it was like,
You're right. It was wonderful. You were hysterical. You gave a tour of each of the locations, the blind school, and you also put on your Nelly wig and you ran down the hill where where Laura had pushed you down the hill. It was incredible. But because you weren't there, we had 2 hours to fill. So we blew up these pictures of you and of Harriet, of Catherine McGregor, and we had an archery contest with the cast. And
nice.
they were aiming arrows at the villains of Walnut Grove, and they missed. There's no holes in your head, so luckily.
I'm shocked that none of them had decent aim.
No, I mean, Matthew, he was pretty close a couple times.
I would think. Now, well, I'm not good at it, but I did take archery at camp. I probably could have hit a couple.
You could have. I wish you'd been there, but man, your video was a big hit with the fans.
The video's great. Oh my God. But yeah, you've been doing all these fabulous TV cast reunions. And so people clearly have forgiven you. And you're able to get together with a lot of these people. You've done, how many of the different shows have you done now?
Well, at Home and Family, I think I did 15. We did Little House, we did the Waltons, and we did, my gosh, we turned the house into a spaceship for Star Trek The Next Generation, and Dynasty and Knots Landing. We did a bunch of all my favorites. And yeah, I mean, it was a full circle moment for them to experience me as a producer so many years after I had been on the other end of things, snooping in their garbage and crashing their weddings. A leopard, as Julie Newmar so kindly contributed to my book, a leopard can change its spots.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is that the whole picture books is that you have changed your ways. You are confessing and repentant. And as you said, the mindset, what is this mindset? Because we see this all the time. We go, my God, is there anything they don't know? And I mean, I've joked about the Inquirer in my act, and that I've said that, they do know everything because they had that fabulous article about Saddam Hussein being a fan of Little House on the Prairie. And when I talked about my act, his lust for power, his sexual perversion, his passion for Little House on the Prairie, people thought I was kidding. I said, no, that's literally the article, and it's true. They did not make it up. Because I later ran into someone who would actually know, who worked with various world leaders and knew about people, went, oh, yeah, Saddam Hussein. Yeah, Little House on the Prairie, favorite show. And I went, well, what? And she was like, oh, yeah. So it was they know things.
So it's you. I'm sure you were his favorite character, and he modeled his whole life off of you. And that's why Saddam Hussein ended up being the lovely man that he was.
I mean, Melissa did. She called me when it came and go, so it's your fault. I'm like, don't look at me. Well, you know what it was? They said he wanted Michael Landon to be his father. He had terrible psychological complexes, and Little House was all about if only Michael had been his dad, it would have been okay.
Same as me. I didn't realize I had so much in common with the other bad boy.
It's an all over the world thing, but the Inquirer does know things. There's, now we talk about that the Inquirer has been directly involved in politics. I remember hearing that there was a man who ran the Inquirer, used to work for the CIA, that their ability to know things is much more than we think about, like the average Joe with a tabloid. They seriously do know things that they shouldn't know. How does that all work?
Well, I mean, it's no secret to you. There's these Klingons, not the Star Trek Klingons. There's they're right behind you. Sycophants, people who just attach onto celebrities because they want to be associated with them. There are also people who feel burned and ostracized and ignored and want revenge. So there are many, many nannies and nurses and best
ex-girlfriends, bunny boilers,
fiancés. I mean, I mentioned Kelsey Grammer. I got stories from his fiance at the time, who's contributed a page in my book. And his brother was another source. Kelsey's own half brother was selling stories.
Ouch.
Yeah. So you never know, who's selling you out. And they paid well. They really, really did. Yeah. So if people felt they weren't getting paid enough by, I don't know, Sandra Bullock, lovely person, just pulled her name out of a hat, then they would find another way to supplement their income.
it's kind of terrifying when you put it that way. But indeed, the fact that, as you said, you and the others, seemingly nice people to start with, raised in decent homes by lovely mothers, but yet the mindset was to get this terrible dirt. No, we love you. It's a good thing you're doing. Yes, we're going to reward you and pat you on the head for this vile thing. It's what is their mindset? Because is it as they say, is it America needs to know? Is it people really need to know these terrible things, and we must be the ones to find what is possessing them to do this?
Money was possessing them, and the genesis of the Inquirer. They started out literally as a train wreck. They were a magazine, a paper that ran photos of train wrecks and car accidents. These gory, horrible. Yes. And
I'm
then
dying.
they got a photograph of Mr. Elvis Presley in his casket that they put on the front page, and it sold 6.5 million copies.
God, I remember
no
this.
turning back. No turning back at that
And
point.
that was the day they went, Eureka, we have found it.
That the celebrities sold. And from that point on, yeah, they would do the occasional human interest story, and they had this weird blue dot that people were supposed to, I don't know, worship, and they would get good luck. Remember that blue dot? It's like
I'm the kook the celebrity who actually had a subscription to the National Enquirer at one point. I read it religiously because, well, I had to keep up. Go, my God, what's next? And I read it, but I also noticed, and this is something I always tell people, and people, want to know where is America at? What is America's #1 magazine, TV guide? What is America's #1 newspaper? The National Enquirer.
Yeah.
And people go, but, and I go, no, that's truth.
Well, and some people, I'm not going to say where, some people that was their newspaper. That
Literally, yes.
Their LA Times, their New York Times, their Washington Post. That's
Absolutely.
what I saw in the National Enquirer, and I know it's true, and I'm not going to be convinced that it's not true.
That's why I remember tightly when I was working the show, I was reading Variety, The Reporter, the LA Times, and the National Enquirer, because I knew damn well that's where, like, you need to know what's it next. And I would do stuff. I did a lot of, like, hey, I'm doing a bikini shoot for a thing come on over. You mentioned doing the day in life things. I did stuff with the Enquirer where, do you want to come? They did a thing where it was like an adventure thing. Somebody went skydiving. Several people, somebody flew, Ann Jillian flew a plane. They had to fly a jet. They had all these weird adventure things with celebrities.
Yeah.
And they'd gotten, I did hang gliding another time. A guy from a hang gliding magazine said, want to learn to hang glide and we'll shoot the pictures. I went, sure. It was fabulous. So we did that. So they said, we only have a couple left. Do you want to be Vegas showgirl for a day? God, yes. Absolutely. I was like 19.
I want to be Vegas showgirl for a day.
And we went down there with the Flamingo, and these lovely, as they said, we are dancers, not showgirls. Showgirls are down the hall. This is dance. You're getting a dancer costume. Don't you forget it. I'm like, yes, ma'am. And the thing and the fishnet and the thing and the headdress, which weighs like 30, 40 pounds. I had whole new respect for these women because the tail feathers were like 20, 30 pounds and the headdress was like 30, 40 pounds. And you have to hold your head just so.
Oh, yeah. Right. Great posture.
Extremely painful. And the shoes and the thing. And we got in position. They said she can't raise her legs. She'll never be able to raise. Yeah. And I was like, you dared me. And so I did it. I was able to do it. I was very impressed. But I was showgirl for a day in Vegas, and wow, what they have to put up with and the costume and the work. But it was amazing. I got a whole weekend in Vegas with National Guard. So I used to do all these wackadoo things with them, which is maybe why I've been spared so many terrible things.
Maybe you played ball. You played ball with them. Well, Vegas, that is the place to go. I spent so much time in Vegas when I was with the Enquirer. They say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, except when the Enquirer's there. So I was sent there for Clint Eastwood's wedding, following his bride and her bridesmaids as they got drunk and ordered strippers. One of my big Kelsey Grammer stories, again, poor Kelsey, I was sent to Vegas to find out if his fiance had been working as a hooker. So we had received these photos of Tammy from an escort service. So yes, I hired a hooker to my room to find out if that agency, in fact, were not just dancing in rooms, that they were doing more than dancing. So my buddy
shows up and goes, honey, I got like real gigs. What are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I paid her though, and she didn't have to do anything more. Although,
She got a little break for the evening, a little
well,
time
sort
off.
of. I mean, I was in my 20s, so even though I decided to be with guys at the time, it was on the Inquirer's dime.
And she was there and kind of going, "Did I come all the way down here for nothing?" So, fair enough.
Yeah, it was a win-win, I guess, something like that. And then I was able to get out of there in time to catch Siegfried and Roy, the end of the Tiger Act.
So, I mean, are sometimes celebrities, and it sounds like it's really yes. I was mentioned I was going to ask, are celebrities sometimes their own worst enemy? Because I know there's a lot of people like me who did goofy fun things or played ball and said, okay, now please don't hurt me if something goes wrong. Cut me some slack. Give me, well, the other thing I've joked about now with social media, I said back in the day, they put the Inquirer to bed on Thursday night. So if you did something terrible Friday or Saturday, you had days for your publicist and manager to get on the phone and go, can we make it, please, man, please, and get your butt out of the sling. But
Yeah.
now you fall on that pavement and there's the cell phone and you are TMZ now.
Oh, it's immediate. One of the women who contributed a little nice blurb in the front of the book was Cynthia Tweez, Lauren Cynthia Tweez, who played Julie McCoy on The Love Boat.
I
And
love her.
oh my God, adore her, the sweetest in the world. And she talked about the terror that she would have on Tuesdays, which back in the day, that was the day the new issues came out. And she's like, is
Tuesday.
this something good? And this was not the case on Little House, but on Love Boat, she said the producers leaked stories about them to keep them in control and to
Yeah.
gain interest in the show. I mean, I can't imagine how horrible that must have been. But yeah, no, it's
We got once the Inquirer did a thing. They were convinced we were all fighting with each other, which was really weird. And they picked and it was like all the wrong people. It's like, well, maybe that one and that one, but wait, no, I didn't fight with him. What did they do? They got all the wrong people. But it was like me and Melissa Gilbert and Melissa Sue Anderson and Michael all on the cover. And they picked the four worst possible pictures, right, that they could get of everybody. And said that all four of us were fighting with each other. And we were all like, what the hell? But I walked into the supermarket with a bunch of my friends and there it was. And they were in hysterics. They were on the floor, pointing at me. So they thought it was a hoot. And we were all like, oh, God. Well, we did. Again, same kind of thing. Melissa called me. It's like, oh, my God, what are we doing? She says, I'm calling my publicist, my lawyer. I said, well, what do you want to do? And she goes, okay. She calls me back, goes, I got it worked out. You want to go out? I go, yeah, I want to go out. She goes, get a friend. And we went out. What was it? The Cattle Baron Club. We went out to a nightclub and called a bunch of people to come and get pictures of us hanging out, having a fabulous time, drinking and dancing. And went, oh, clearly no fight.
So smart. That's the way to handle it. You absolutely you got it right. Yeah.
So bonkers. Are celebrities sometimes their own worst enemy though? Are celebrities being incautious, doing things that are creating drama? Are they screwing themselves in some of these situations?
Well, for sure. I mean, there are people like when we saw in the early 2000s, Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan, and they were stepping out of limousines without underwear. So, I mean, fair game. They wanted to be captured, stripped down to nothing. So, in that case, anything's fair. There are certain celebrities who try to live a private life. They live in Idaho. I mean, Harrison Ford, you didn't hear about him forever because he lived away from it all. He didn't go to events and premieres. He would come in and do his movie, promote it, and then hide away again. So he wasn't part of that game and he was left alone. But yeah, I mean, there are other celebrities who wanted to be in the Inquirer. I mean, Roseanne Barr and Tom
God, right?
If they weren't in the Inquirer, they would do something to get back in it that week. They just got such a kick out of it. I did a lot of stories with Zsa Zsa. Remember Zsa Zsa Gabor's husband, Prince Frederick?
Oh God, he never stopped with that. Jesus.
He was a source, as well as Zsa Zsa's daughter, late daughter Francesca. They were sources. But my God, there was Frederick would call me, and Zsa Zsa couldn't stand this because she was incredibly embarrassed. But Freddie called me and said, I've lost my membership at Bally's Fitness Center because I was in the jacuzzi and ladies there said they could see my manhood through my white Speedo. And so, I mean, I'm like, this is too good not to do something with this. So I said, would you be willing to prove that your Speedo is in fact see-through? So I took him to the pool at the Beverly Hilton and we did a before dry photo. And then we had him go in the water and do a wet photo. and we left it up to the readers to see if they could see enough of what would warrant a complaint. Another time he called me because he had been hit. What? What?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, we talked about the Prince Albert in a can. I mean,
Oh,
we had
dear
so
God. Oh,
much
my
fun with all of those puns. So I mean, then he got hit by a car once, and he was at the hospital, and he said, "William, hurry up if you want to get the exclusive before Zsa Zsa comes to pick me up." So I went there, and I said, "Well, where's Zsa Zsa?" "Oh, she left because she's doing an interview with Entertainment Tonight." I said, "I thought I was getting the exclusive." He said, "We've given Entertainment Tonight the video exclusive, and you have the print exclusive." And then I had to drive him home because he had no ride, and he reenacted me me hitting him. He reenacted the hit and run on the way home. So I mean, some people are game for anything, and I love those celebrities. They made my life very, very fun.
Wow. So there are people, and now why would you say, why the book now? Why the change now that you said, okay, I've gotta come clean. Maybe some of this stuff I did wasn't so nice. What happened?
Well, first of all, I mean, just as you are not Nellie Olson, a role that you played 40 years ago. I am not that person that I played, that tabloid reporter from 30 years ago. I gave myself 3 years and I said, then I'm out. It's going to be an adventure, a wild adventure for 3 years, but I don't want to become a lifer. It was actually a photograph of Raquel Welch that they put on the cover looking just so despondent. And then they had a photo of her in her glamorous days and it said the poor, sad, lonely life. And I said, no, that's me. I go through depression. I wouldn't want that exposed. So I made the process of resigning and I had to start from scratch. And yes, I went on to USA Today and TV Guide. And I've been wanting to ask you, Alison, because you joked about hating me, but I've always believed you actually really sincerely did not like me, even though you've always been so lovely to me. And I've tried to figure out what it was I did.
Oh, you pissed me off a couple of times. Well, no, the big ones, it's you didn't do anything horrible. I will give you that. You've never picked in
Okay.
my trash and everything, thank God. But because of the Inquirer mindset, there were times where you said things where I went, what the? And it was that very sort of crass, like to the point, vulgarish inquirer thinking. Now, I grew up in Hollywood and I've also been to Washington, D.C. and Albany, New York and Sacramento. So people in politics, that's how they talk. But I was, that's the thing. When my book came out and yeah, absolutely, you got us that huge article, but you were definitely going for any of the negative spots or trashy things that could be exploited to make that article sell. And we're absolutely going, well, and it was almost like, does he have a cigar when he's saying this stuff? Jesus, cute frog, dude. And it was
Well,
like, I don't think you're anything by it. But it was like, seriously? And then I think you hit on my cousin, but everybody does that. So
I did
but
hit on your
did
cousin.
you?
And I had a great relationship. I went to see him in Vancouver when I was at my lowest. He's an amazing guy. He came to
Everybody.
visit me.
Who
We
can
went to
blame
Jim
you?
Henson Muppets Night at the Hollywood Bowl together. He turned a cantaloupe into a Kermit the Frog. He's a genius. Please give him my best. I love him. We met in Hawaii on one of my assignments. But yes, first of all, your book is genius. I mean, if my book
Thank
can
you
be
very much.
water as humorous, entertaining as yours, then it's a winner. Confessions of a Prairie Bitch is genius. Now, as I recall, I was at TV Guide. I believe your
Yes.
book came out right at the
Yes.
same time as Melissa Sue Anderson's book.
Yes. And there was definitely a competition going on.
Yes.
And you and others went, oh, well, let's exploit this company. Let's make it like it's really a battle royal here. And it got nutty.
So, sure. Yes, I don't know that I totally saw it that way.
I did that.
I saw these two great books that I want to cover. Let's cover them together. But, knowing that, I did pull out things from your book that sort of would relate to things in her book. And I'm sure I probably did create some kind of a rivalry. So even though I quit the Inquirer, as I say in the book, it took a long time for the Inquirer to quit me. So I apologize because you deserved the best coverage as possible for that amazing, amazing book.
And it was understandable. And at the time, I was like, what? Then I went, well, of course, this is how they're going to do it. Now, the crazy part is, as you've probably seen via the internet, I was just in Monte Carlo with a bunch of our prairie gang, including, yes, Melissa Sue Anderson herself. And as you said, we're like arm in arm on the red carpet in color coordinated outfits, like we're chilling,
You
chilling, babe.
all look so beautiful. I mean,
You thought we
really.
got on the phone and said, okay, today we're doing blue. Now it's green. We came into the lobby, no idea, and went, you all got the memo? What the, what? And then the next time it's like, oh, we're all doing green. How did you know to do that? I was like, Matt, how do you even own a green suit? How did you? But we color coordinated psychically the whole weekend. It was fabulous. And yes, Melissa Sue and I are now like weirdly chummy. Go figure. I don't know.
Well,
There
that
you go.
makes me so
2024
happy
bad.
to hear because you're not the same people that you were back then. You do grow and
No.
evolve, and your priorities shift. I mean,
Hello.
hello, yeah. One of the stories I focus a lot on is the Desperate Housewives, who by the end of the run of that show, they were like cats. I mean, it was really the three of them against Terry Hatcher for a variety of reasons you can read about in the book. But I spoke to Marcia, and Marcia's like, "Why were we doing that? I mean, it doesn't seem like a big deal anymore. There's things that we just got so upset over. With maturity, you become a mother, you become a wife, you become an advocate like you are, and you see what really does matter and what
Right.
doesn't." So,
So
yeah,
see, so there. See, okay, so all feuds have been settled. Everyone is shaking hands.
I hope so.
Like, thank God, this is great. What advice do you have? Because you came out, as you said, a young person wanting to meet all these celebrities you loved. And what advice do you have for a young person saying, I want to go to Hollywood to be an actor, be a journalist? What would you tell them?
Well, I mean, first of all, I guess if someone wants to come and meet these stars like I did, my first advice would be to go to Westwood Memorial Park because they're all there. I always take people. You can get a selfie with Marilyn Monroe. You can get an etching, an autograph from Natalie Wood. They are crammed with celebrities. Dean Martin, Hugh Hefner, Farrah
That's
Fawcett.
big celebrity. I mean, Forest Lawn is good. That's true. A lot of people, and it's weird because the Westwood Memorial it's about this big, and it's
Yes.
behind a movie theater and an office building. And I'm always like, oh, I don't want to be buried there. It seems strange behind the movie theater. But then if you go further out to West LA, you get Michael Landon and everybody out there. So that's
Oh,
also a nice
who
one.
has the most beautiful, beautiful window. It's private as it should be, but you can see some beautiful memorabilia that the family has approved. It's a very appropriate place for Mr. Landon.
So
Um,
are you a cemetery person? Are you are what is as they call them on certain websites, the death hags? Are you a cemetery fan? Do you like to go to like
Call
famous
me
graves?
cemetery file, call me a death hag. I am obsessed with cemeteries. And I write about, I think the reason this happened is because my dad died when I was 5. I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral or the wake, which was probably a good idea. I understand my family's reasoning. But in my mind, was he really dead? On the soap operas, people come back to
Oh,
life. And I was obsessed with thinking maybe one day I'll go there with a shovel
oh,
and dig him up and have a look and see if he's there.
it's very weird, but yeah,
I'm
but I
very
get it. I mean, Melissa Gilbert's talked about she did not, she was not allowed to go to her father's funeral, and years later it was a huge problem for her. And they thought, oh, we'll shelter the child. And then as an adult, she's like, why? Why was I being kept from? Yes. Back in the day, they would not let kids go to the funeral. No, psychologically, it's not a good idea.
it made death really spooky to me. I spoke with a woman from Ireland the other day, and she said the exact opposite. They make the children part of the process, the mourning process, a tribute, and it doesn't become as scary and weird and ghoulish. So yeah, I every place I go, I just got back from Austria. I'm always looking for the hottest cemeteries. I love going to the cemeteries in Italy because they have all their faces on
Beautiful.
them. So I'm always looking for
The
hot
picture.
guys. On
Did you go visit you haven't been to see my friend Jess. The next time you're in Venice, you go out to the big island there in the canal and the San Michele there, and there's a big cemetery, and you go into behind the wall where they have all the cremated people in the wall with the pink. And my friend Jess Peterson, who you may have met, I mean, he was my manager with my father back in the day. And when he died, he wanted his ashes taken to Venice, and I managed to do this, and I need to make like a documentary about it. It was insane getting somebody's ashes to Venice. And we got him in this vault. And then they said, what do you want on it? We usually do pictures. It's Italy. And I went, oh my God. So I found the most gorgeous picture of him taken when he was like 22 and
yes,
had that put up with
yes.
just so nobody knows. I didn't put dates, so nobody knows that he was 65 when he died. Nobody knows. They just see this beautiful guy in the
So,
name.
so, so smart because first of all, I've been to that island cemetery. It's my favorite
Totally know
cemetery
that.
in the world. It's incredible. Burano. I can never figure out which is the glass island, which is the dead people island. There's a ceramics island, all sorts of islands. But yes, that cemetery is great. But you will also find it's very interesting to see what photos people have chosen of their loved ones, because there'll be some sort of like hairy guy with his chains and no shirt on. And I'm like, did they not like Grandpa? Why did they choose this? Surely there had to be a better photo taken than a shirtless photo of him
Right?
sunbathing.
Or did crazy grandpa give that picture to grandma and go, I want this?
Yes, yes. It's wild. But yes, I am obsessed, and a lot of my stories took place in cemeteries.
I see us having like a lunch date and going out to Forest Lawn or to Hollywood Forever, and I can introduce you to some of my friends who like, yes, I have favorite graves. My
I
God,
would
I did not know
love,
we had this weirdness in common. Of course we do.
I'm sure we have more in common than that. And I tell you, I mean, I'm thrilled to have been in your show, but just to finally heal, because I've loved you, and I'm like, what? I've done something, and you're too much of a lady to confront me with it. You've held it in, but I knew, and I'm just so grateful that we did get to hash it out and kind of get to the truth of the matter.
Totally crazy. So now, I mean, you mentioned the pandemic caused you to reflect. Is that part of when you went, this is the time to get it all out into a book?
Well, I am a hoarder as well, so I have kept everything. I kept every reporter notebook. I kept every clipping of every article I ever wrote. I kept every tape recorded interview. So don't shoot me, Joan Collins. I have our interview on tape, word for word. So I went in the pandemic. I sat in my garage, and I've got to get rid of some of this stuff. So I threw some stuff away, and then I kept some stuff, and then like this is the juicy stuff that's the making of a book. So
Wow.
most interviews I've done have been absolutely lovely, but people don't want to hear those stories. I don't think that would be a very interesting book. People want to hear about what went wrong. So those are the stories I chose to tell, the stories where I'm on the run. I mean, I mentioned, we talked about cemeteries. I was in a tree spying on Dean Martin's cemetery, his funeral. I was up there and I heard Rosemary Clooney singing "When the Moon Hits Your Eye" like a big pizza pie. That's amore. We rented a tree for $500.
Rented the tree. Oh my
Yeah.
God. And having those, you said it's true. I mean, even when I wrote my book, it's like, and in stand up, I go, no, pick this embarrassing story that your publicist says, God, don't tell that one, and start there and like work your way through. These are the personal stories. So, do you have advice for people who are looking back at their life now and going, hey, maybe I screwed up, maybe I've been doing something that wasn't really me. I gotta get it all out. What advice would you have to people like you who've looked back and gone, that was not me. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I got to confess.
Well, the key is don't look back because you can't change it. You can learn from your mistakes, and each chapter ends with a lesson learned that I learned that I think people will hopefully be able to apply to their lives about
Oh,
how I evolved and came out of the closet. Because that was the other thing, Allison, that we haven't talked about is that I was snooping into all your private lives, and I was living a lie myself as a closeted gay man.
really?
Yes, yes. I know you're shocked that I'm gay.
I, I like somebody thought you were straight.
Oh, man.
Congratulations if you did.
Well, hey, so I mean, how hypocritical that was that?
Right?
So it came to a point where I wanted to just clean up my life. I wanted to be honest with who I was, and that meant being honest with my career as well. So I think you knew. Did you know a reporter named Neil Hitchens at the Inquirer?
God, yes. Jesus, yes. He wrote everything.
I have to acknowledge him. You've done so much work on behalf of HIV and AIDS. Neil was a good friend, a colleague at the Inquirer who
Indeed.
taught me a lot of the ways to be a good reporter. And he passed away of AIDS. I think of him often. But he had
And
a
he
sense
wrote
of
a book
humor.
about AIDS too. He wrote a lot about AIDS. He did
He
some wonderful
absolutely
work.
did. I honor him in the book. And yeah, we were called to do a lot of snooping on that issue back at the time. So back to your question though, don't look back. Learn from the mistakes you've made. Envision who the person is you want to be, who you can be, and I think most especially align yourself with the kind of people that you really admire. If you surround yourself with gossipy, inquirer, mind-reading, untrustworthy liars, then how can you not be that as well?
Huh?
Choose your role models, choose your friends wisely, and that will rub off on you.
Fantastic. Where can we get the book? The usual places?
Well, July 11th, publication date, and barnesandnoble.com, and it'll be available on Amazon in all forms. If you like Kindle, Apple Books, Yes, you have lots of choices to read when you step upon a star, and
Are you
then
doing a big book signing? Aren't you doing? I saw your banner when I was at Dean's book signing at the Grove the
I,
other night. I
I
saw you had a
am.
banner.
I am. Well, your very good friend Harlan has been handling my publicity, and he handled Dean's publicity. I'm so honored to have him. He connected us today. I'm sure he said, just give this guy a chance, please. He's not as bad as you think. Thank you, Harlan. Yes, we have an event at the Grove on Tuesday. I'm not sure when this is going to air, but Tuesday, July 9th, this coming Tuesday. I would love for you to be there. Mark Steinis, who hosted Entertainment Tonight, he is going to do a panel, and I think Chris Knight from the Brady Bunch is going to be there, and some others. So it would be fun to have you be part of this, and we can ask you about your horror stories with the tabloids as well.
I might. All right. Thank you so much for coming on my show. I guess God, yeah, I forgive you. Yes, you should give.
Yay! Yay! Where are you here? Oh, I'm going to give you a big kiss right now. Thank you, Alison Arngrim.
There
My
you go.
best friend.
All is forgiven. We'll go hit a cemetery sometime and hang out.
We'll do a picnic, yeah, on Zsa Zsa Gabric's grave. How does that sound? We'll bring goulash.
Thank you very much for coming on my show, and thank you everyone for watching. This is the Alison Arngrim Show, and I'm Alison Arngrim.
I found my way home across the ground.